Hey everybody, Dan here with Pain Free You. So this topic is kind of kicking the bee's nest a little bit. Today's topic is going to be, are you critical of how you were raised? So this will be a video of self-reflection, all right? So, overcast, little rain earlier. Not too bad out. Birds are quiet. There's a squirrel 10 feet away. He's just hopping around the logs. So, are you critical about how you were raised? And I will give credit where credit is due. There is a lady named Mel Robbins, Robbins, and she was being interviewed, or she was interviewing somebody on a podcast. She made this statement at the very end of the interview, and it said, many people are crazy critical of how their parents raised them. And this was the kicker. Perhaps we should be more critical about how we are raising ourselves. That's a little bit of a gut punch when you think about it, because our parents stopped raising us in our late teens, 20s, right? And then for the most part, we've been responsible for our own care since we were adults. And if you're, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and really still struggling, just evaluate, how am I caring for myself? Am I being overly critical, judgmental, beating myself up all the time, telling myself all the things I can't do? Now look, many of those patterns, those self-esteem issues came from our upbringing. But at a certain point in time, we become responsible to parent and raise ourselves. And how are we doing with that? You have one responsibility, or there's one person you are chartered with the responsibility of caring for, and that's yourself, right? Yes, you get, you have a partner, you have kids, whatever, and you are now responsible for caring for them. But your primary responsibility is caring for yourself, because if you don't care for yourself, you're not much use to anybody else. And so, that statement, of are you very critical of how your parents raised you? Perhaps we should be more critical of how we're raising ourselves. That really shines a light on how we treat ourselves. How good are we at protecting ourselves from ourselves? How good are we at protecting ourselves from other people if we are in dysfunctional relationships? How good are we at identifying that dysfunction and setting up some boundaries and advocating for ourselves? Are we caring for ourselves? And this is outside of the realm of chronic symptoms or chronic pains, but it also applies to that, right? Because if you are responding to TMS, perceived danger, pain, or symptoms, in very harsh, judgmental, disempowering ways, telling yourself, I can't do this, I'm too anxious, I'm this, I'm that, you're not advocating for yourself. You're actually advocating for your limitations and your inability to make progress here. So it all goes back to fundamentals, folks, and I do this all the time. Bring you all the way back. What causes symptoms? Perceived danger. Does that apply to you? Do the assessments. I can't tell you. I'd say that in like every other video, if not all the videos. Do the assessments. Is this PDP.com? But yet, several times a week, sometimes several times a day, I'll have people go, well, I'm experiencing this. Is that TMS? Is that perceived danger? Do the assessments, folks. I can't tell you that just by you explaining your symptoms. Do the assessments. That's the way to go. But are you advocating and caring for yourself? It's easy to blame our parents. And yes, there are many of us who had less than ideal upbringings. You know, my dad had a temper. Okay. But you know, once I left the house in my early 20s, I was caring for myself. And I'm 59. Later this month, I'll be 59. So if I moved out at 23, what is that, 46 years that I've been responsible for my own care? And if I'm still screwed up, that's on me. I hate to say it, and I'm not in any way, shape, or form trying to make anybody feel bad. The whole point of this video is to just shine a light and say, are you caring for yourself and advocating for yourself as well as you could be? I didn't use the word should, as well as you could be. And I'm trying to encourage you to care for yourself with more love and compassion. Maybe parent yourself the way you wish you were parented as a child, with love and compassion and understanding and support and encouragement. Wouldn't it be nice to have somebody encouraging us and supporting us and loving us and telling us what we can do? Well, guess what? That's your job. Yeah, I'm here to help. But that's your job. I can only point the direction. You've got to be the one to get up every day and march in that direction. So, if you're very critical of how you were raised, perhaps we should be a little bit more critical of how we are raising ourselves. And how many years or decades have we been responsible for our own care? And when are you going to make self-care a priority? And again, the last thing I want to do is make people feel bad and regret how they've treated themselves. That's not it. I am not blaming, shaming, judging, or encouraging you to do more of that. I'm saying you're much more capable than you may realize. You are strong, you're beautiful, you're powerful. You're one of a kind. In a good way. And so your responsibility is to care for yourself as if you actually give a shit about yourself. Right? Because if you're constantly criticizing and judging and beating yourself up and telling yourself all your failures and that you're not good enough, you're not doing as much as you could for yourself to help you create the life you want. So, tough video to hear. Because I'll tell you, when I heard Mel Robbins say this, that was like, ooh, brutal truth. Brutal truth. And I wanted to touch on this today because Mel's comment really struck home with me at all the ways that I could be caring for myself better, how I could be treating myself better in many ways. Health, fitness, diet, relationships, productivity, work, etc. So many ways that I could be treating myself better, and I haven't been. And so it was a nice wake up for me, and I wanted to share that with as much care and encouragement as possible so that perhaps you can start to look at how you've been raising yourself since you were responsible for that, and whether or not there are things that you can change today to start caring for yourself in a more powerful, productive, encouraging, supportive, loving way. So give it some thought. Comment below if this struck a chord with you. And if you're offended by this, that's not the intent. Please, the last thing I want to do is offend anybody. I just really want to encourage us to have a little bit of self-reflection so that we can move forward in a more powerful, loving, encouraging way towards ourselves. So, I love you. Love yourself. Love is a verb. Act as if you care for yourself. Because you do. All right, folks. Love you. And as usual, we'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow's video from the lake. Going back there tomorrow morning. So, take care, everybody. See you tomorrow.